Hello, everybody. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome, 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 and happy holidays to our December meeting of our CCC TUG. We have some amazing guests here today. We're thrilled that everybody could join us. We are thrilled also and delighted to hear that the news from up north is good. And so we are thrilled that you're all here. So let's go into our next slide. And thank you again, Lisa, for the music, which is always brilliant. Always brilliant. And this is why I don't run the slides. This meeting is being recorded. And on our agenda today, we are very grateful to have Kevin Wee here to do some presenting on different design tips. We have Amanda Admire from Chaffey College, I believe, to do a presentation on how to create the magic reset button that clears all of your dashboard filters with one fell swoop. And we'll talk a little bit about our next meeting, which is going to be in February. And so we do not want to hold Kevin up any longer than we already have. We are again grateful for him being here today. Kevin is a Chicago-based Tableau visionary and public ambassador passionate about data visualization and UI UX design. He is the lead BI analyst at Discover Financial Services, providing creative visual solutions to business partners' analytic problems. He also develops training programs that help in-house analysts grow as Tableau users. Kevin is well known for his knowledge sharing sessions on using Tableau and Figma and combined to create functional and beautiful vizzes. With that, I will stop sharing and I'll let you take it away.
Sure, can you hear me? Testing, good. Okay, I'm seeing a thumbs up. Great. Now let's begin. Let me share the screen real quick. More share screen, the central one. Good. Are you're looking at my screens? Great. Well, welcome to the California Community College Tableau User Group. My name is Kevin, Kevin Wee. If we have any Mandarin speaking people in the chat, which I'm seeing a couple of them, my Mandarin name is Huang Kewen. So just to make connections here. And today I'll be talking about information buttons and toggle switches. So let's get started. Given that earlier, Kimberly has done an awesome job in introducing me, so I'm not going to dive into this. This is just some photos that I've taken over the years showing my engagement in the data fam community, and I'm very passionate about this, and I always love to be invited to share knowledge on dashboard design. And let's talk about today's agenda. We will start with a demonstrations of different kind of custom shaped buttons that you may create using Tableau. Then I'm going to talk about how do you gather good images for building a icon library. And then I'm going to talk about different kinds of icon buttons. Specifically, I'm going to talk about toggle switches for you to switch between state A and state B. After that, I'll end the session with sharing more learning resources for each of you so that you may create these buttons on your own. With that, I'm just going to ask these questions and maybe some of you can put it in the chat, or you can use the, the thumbs up function of Zoom. First of all, how many of you have been explaining the same thing about a chart or dashboards for multiple times, just so your business users, your business partners could understand what the dashboard is about? Okay, I'm seeing a couple of hands. Yep, right. It's very repetitive, especially when your company or team has so many new analysts all the time. You just have to keep on explaining the things over and over again. It's very annoying. Secondly, how many of you have had too many filters or parameters on your dashboard that taking up so many spaces? These spaces should have been used in the charts part, should have been used in the data visualization parts, right? I've seen 100%, a couple of people as well. And last but not least, how many of you have struggled to find icons that you want to use in your dashboard, because when you go to Google, there's so many different variety, different flavor, different design of dashboards. It's hard to, different designs of icons. It's very hard for us to find the consistent ones. Like you try, but it's hard to find the ones that meet your need. I'm seeing some head nodding as well. Well, today I hope to solve some of these problems, and stay till the very end. You will be given a lot of free stuffs, I promise. It's Christmas season. By the end of this session, you should be able to, number one, you should be able to find a suitable icon library that is readily available for you to use to develop the dashboard. Second, you should be able to create custom shape icon buttons with good UI and with parameter interactivity that may add to the functions of your dashboard. And last but not least, you should be able to list at least 3 ways to apply icon buttons in the design of your dashboard. So with that, right before we jump into the demonstration, there are 2 notes I'd like to share to each of you, just like the caveat of this whole presentation. Number 1 is a well-designed dashboard button. It should be readily and easily leveraged by the target users. They're not there to bedazzle them, so they're not supposed to be the main show of the dashboard. The second note would be, in this presentation, I'd like you to pay attention to the design and use cases of each icon buttons. In this 20 minutes, charts and graphs are not the main hero here. Today, we're talking about the best supporting actor and actress here. These are the icon buttons. So with that, let's jump into demonstrating the dashboard, demonstrating the icons. Let's see what these icons can do. Go to this. FYI, this dashboard is currently on my Tableau public. So if Lisa could drop that link in the chat, that would be appreciated too. I highly recommend all of you to check it out, download it, and open the file, and then check out how these icons were made. I have put a lot of additional information into this workbook so that later you can recreate these icons. So let's begin. Today I will be demonstrating 3 kind of icons. The first custom shape icon is what I call a hover icon. These are the icons that when you hover your cursor on it, it would pop up relevant information about the metric, the chart, or the whole dashboard. So inside this tooltip box, you can put in whatever message that you want. A use case of this hover buttons would be to explain a metric with a very ambiguous name. For example, on the chart here, we have something that called punctual delivery rates. So what does it mean by punctual, right? So I put the detailed definition of that metric in the tooltip so that anyone, when they need to understand the actual definitions of that metric, they may access them via the hover button. The second kind of icon button that I like to share today is what I call an A/B switch. It's the kind of button, it's like your light switch. When you click it, it would switch between 2 states, state A or state B, right? It will switch the positions between 2 things. This can be useful when you're trying to switch the metric or dimension of a chart. For example, here I switch the X metric from sales per order. And when I click that icon at the subtitle part, it switched the metric from sales per order to profit per order. And when I click it again, it switched back. The third kind of icon buttons that I like to introduce today, it's a specific kind of A/B switch. It's on-off switch. This works exactly like all of the light switches that you have had in your home. When you click on it, it will switch the state from on to off, or from true to false. An example that I'm showing here today is this line bar chart with the showing of the target value when you hover over it. But sometimes you don't want to see the target value. You just want to see the existing values as they are. So you can click the icon by hiding these target values so that you can see a full scale of your existing numbers, and you can click the button again to show the target values. So allow you to switch between two chart states. So these are a lot of icons and a lot of possibilities of use cases. Before we jump into how I created these buttons and their applications, I'd like to talk about how I found these icons. Because you see, I am not a graphic designer. I leverage publicly available icon libraries on the internet. So how have I been finding them? Before I reveal the answer, I'd like you to look at these two sets of icons, the ones on top and the ones at the bottoms. Just quickly put it in the chat, which set that you think would be better to leverage in a business dashboard or a formal professional dashboard? Is it the top one or the bottom one? Okay, I'm seeing a lot of top. So yes, we are on the same page. I would also argue that the top set would be a more appropriate set of icons for us to leverage in the dashboard design. But why is it? Let's explain this. According to Google Material Design, later you can Google this term on Google, it would tell you that a good iconography for UX UI would be the icons that are simple in design. They look like very simple, just not over complicated embellishment on the icon. Also, these icons should be easy to recognize. You shouldn't be guessing what they meant. Like the close icon is very clearly it's close icon. The toggle switch is clearly a toggle switch, and then the information icon just an eye. And also a good set of icons. Between the icons, they should have a consistency in the style. It means that the color should be consistent, their size, their light, their line weight, or the level of details on these icons should be relatively the same so that they look like a family of icons. So over the years, I have gathered these a good set of icons that I have been using them at my professional works at Discover. And then these are the icons that are commonly used in the dashboard, such as informations, answering a questions, something's wrong in the dashboard, opening something or downloading some things. Later, by the end of the session, we will provide you a link for you to download these icons for free, and then you may import them into your Tableau repository for your own use. So please do stay to the very end. Yep, that's it. So now let's go back to my Tableau workbook and look at how these icons and switches, how I made them. Let's see. Here, oh, move it here. Okay, so I downloaded my own Tableau workbook, and I'm going to demonstrate to you how you may leverage this to recreate these icons. And before I do so, I'd like you to know that I put in a lot of additional tabs here. I'm not going to go through all of them today, but these are for your own reading. Okay, a lot of comparisons, like for you to compare different Apple products, just so you can have more fundamental understandings of these charts. So now let's look at all three charts at the same time. They look very different, but actually they're all started from the same, what I call a proto button. They all started with a button that look like this. Basically, there are two custom shaped two custom shaped marks overlapping each other's, and then the one at the bottom, we put a text next to it. This is basically the same starting point for each of these use cases. So let's begin by looking at this, right? Typically, when someone created an icon or a button on Tableau worksheet, this is usually what they do, right? With or without the minimum zero, that just for us to position the mark at the center. They put the text next to it, and then they just put the text in the text mark. Very simplistic. But if you only do this, even though there's nothing wrong about it, I would say that it has several weaknesses when it comes to the UI. First of all, when you click it, you will see that very ugly outline, right? I mean, it's not the end of the world, but this is a holiday season. We need to be fancier and prettier. And also, when you click on it, you just have a lot of command buttons coming out. These things add nothing to your dashboard, just noises. So we shall clean it up if there's a way. Also, this is very nitpicking, but this button would only show up the text if you hover right on top of it. And on an actual professional dashboard, usually buttons are very small. So it's not very accessible for people with poor eyesight, or, it's just not very user-friendly. So we may have to find a way to fix that as well, to increase the hoverable area. The other thing is that the text would only occur when you hover on it. Like, it won't stay. Like, the second you move out of the icon, it's just going to disappear. So it's going to make it very hard for you to demonstrate something. So here are several things that I have done to improve the button. First of all, I created I overlapped two marks. And then the top marks, I actually leveraged something that everybody call it the transparent shape. For visibility purpose today, I use just a circle with lower transparency. But you can see that when I put a circle above the existing icon and I enlarge it to the max, now you have a bigger hoverable area. When you hover over it, you don't have to hover right on top of the icon. You can just get close to the icon and you'll get the information text. And now when I change this to a transparent shape is just any shape with 0 opacity or 100% transparency, depending on what app that you use to create it. It could be PowerPoint or Figma or Adobe Illustrator. Now you can see that people won't know that there's a shape above it, but now when you hover your cursor over it, just getting close to it, you can summon the information. So that could be a good usability. And also now, when I go to the tooltip, I unchecked the include command buttons and I switch the setting from responsive to on hover. Now when I hover over the text, I move my cursor into the box and I can lift both of my hands. That text will still be on a screen. This would be very useful if you were to demonstrate something on a dashboard in a meeting, in person or virtually. And also people can read it if you have a longer text blocks. And also when I click on it, now it won't show that command buttons, like all of those noise. The whole UI just cleaner. And last but not least, last two things. One is you can just go to format and remove all of those 0 lines. Now you get a very clean icon. And you notice that I add something that called apple and oranges here. A lot of people, when they look at my dashboard, they're very confused because my dashboard often has a lot of fruits in it, just a fruit basket everywhere. The reason why I put apple and oranges here, they're literally just called apple and orange, like apple. And then the other one's orange. And the reason why I put it up there is now, even though the dashboard, I solved most of the UI problems that I just proposed, when you click on it, you still see it being gray out, right? It is just like every chart. When you click on it, something's going to gray out. So what happened is when you put apple and orange in the detail part, and later in the dashboard session, as such, you can leverage the dashboard actions, something that I call highlight deactivation. You can select by clicking a chart and then using the select function, single selection only. And then the target sheet, you set it to whatever worksheet of that icon. And then you make Tableau compare apple and orange. Because apple will never equal to orange. It would always show all value. It would automatically deactivate all the highlights. So that is how I work around to, now when I click on it, you see when I click on it, there's no highlighting because Tableau freak out. They're like, the apple's not oranges. So that's why. Okay, so let's look at some of the use cases for hover buttons. Of course, as stated previously, you can use it to explain a metric, provide a SQL or the calculation formula of the metric. You can also tell people who they need to go talk to if there's something wrong with the metrics, who is responsible for the dashboard, who's responsible for this business sector, right? Basically, it's tell people to go blame those people. Don't come to me. More importantly, let's say there's something's wrong with the data. Let's say holiday seasons, right? After a certain long weekends, you notice that there's a lot of like zeros in the dashboard. And what's wrong? Someone's currently investigating it, but they still haven't figured out why. So you can put a alert button there and tell people that we know that there's an issue in the dashboard. We're currently investigating it. Please, maybe if you have the URL of the current status of the investigation, you can provide it in the detail, and then you can leverage the, what do you call this? Go to URL function so that the users, they may just click this sheet, use the go to URL functions. When they click on the sheet, it would just bring them to a specific link about the investigation. You can do so as well. So these are different ways for you to leverage the hover buttons. Now, let's look at A/B switches. A/B switches just building on the hover button, because now the hover buttons, it would do something to a parameter setting when you click on it. So the thing about A/B switches, the button is reflecting the current status of a parameter. And then when you click the button itself, it would also change the parameter. So how do we do that? First of all, when you click on the icon itself doesn't change, but the text next to it changed. It changed from A to B, B to A. So in order to do that, I created something that I call a flip calculation. A flip calculation is basically using the if and only if command to tell Tableau, if the current setting is A, then I want B. If the current setting is B, I want A. And after creating that, I just place it in I believe I place it in the text so that it tells me that by clicking it, I will switch to a different setting. With the same logic, I also place the same flip formula in the tooltip so that it tells my user what would happen if I click the icon. So this is just a good UI. We tell people what would happen when they interact with different parts of our dashboard. And last but not least, you will notice something, because the icon with the text, it would be a little bit leaning to the right. In order to visually adjust this to the center, you may adjust the range of the x-axis just by a little bit so that the whole unit, the whole group can be central aligned. And you can try that, like based on how long is the text next to it that you have, you may use this way to adjust your worksheet. This will come in handy later when you're trying to place it in a certain part of the dashboard. Now I'm going to toggle. So by clicking it later on the dashboard, you would notice that I'll switch between status A and status B. So when it's in status B, it will tell me that clicking this button, it will switch to status A, and so on. Now let's look at some of the use cases. I have two use cases here. Number one, you may switch the metric of a chart. By clicking it, I may switch between profit per order to sales per order and vice versa. And all I have to do here is in the chart part, I just place the parameter control formula in the y-axis. Basically, if currently it's profit per order, then you put profit per order. Otherwise, you put sales per order. You can also switch between two different breakdown dimension of a chart. For example, currently this is a 100% area chart breaking down by segment category. By clicking it, you can break it down by segments. So this is a huge benefit because now you may toggle between two metrics or two dimensions. And metrics and dimensions are practically everything on Tableau, right? So it means that you can toggle between two of anything. That's great. Now let's move to on-off switch. On-off switch, it's building on top of the A/B switch, but now both the icon and the text would change when you click on it. And when you currently it's on switch, so the icon itself is an on and the text next to it is on. And when you change into the off setting, now everything's off. And then in the tooltip, it tells you that by clicking it, you will turn on something. So it's building on top of the AV switch. Now let's look at some of the use cases. I use on-off switch a lot in my dashboard because frankly, business partners are greedy. Everybody wants everything. And then I don't have that many space on my dashboard. So everybody get it. First of all, we can toggle between grouping the categories or not grouping the categories. You can show details or show the large family of something. As stated earlier, you can also show or hide the target value, the plan value, the forecast values. At the bottom here, you can also see that sometimes business partners, they want to see the big picture, right? So the scale, sometimes they want a full scale. But if you are a day-to-day analyst, you care more about the fluctuations. You need to be sensitive to that. So by clicking the icon, you can switch between full scale or partial scale. And to do this, actually, you just need to place the 100% and 0% reference line on the x-axis only if the setting is yes. If the setting is no, you turn the value into null. So that's two settings. Another use cases that I have thought of that you can use an on-off switch is to sync or unsync the line charts in different scale. For example, currently they're all syncing, but by clicking the icon, now you can unsync the lines. So if you have a waterfall steps, this for you to, by clicking this, you can investigate the trend of individual steps. You can also sync all of them together so that you can see how things fall down as time passes. So these are just some of the use cases that I've thought of, but obviously they're not all of them. I would like to show more examples. Just a quick, can anyone tell me how much more time that I have? I mean, I'm wrapping things up.
You have all the time you need, don't worry.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna pull out all the big guns here. So let's show you what are the crazy things I've been doing with all these buttons on my own Tableau Public. As stated previously, I'm a Tableau Public ambassador. That just means I like to do crazy stuff on Tableau Public and then tell people that, look, I did crazy stuff. Couple months ago, I created a visualizations on the nutrition value of different Chinese dim sum dishes. And the point is not for you to look at the charts because today's chart's not the main hero, but I would like to show you how I leverage the hover button. So in this chart here, we have a color legend. And then in the color legend here, it's very hard to explain, these specific terms to, people that are not nutritionists. So I just place it in the hover button and tell people how to read, how I calculated the nutrition values of these dishes compared to the recommended intake values. So I place this chart in the tooltip and I place this tooltip on the hover button. So that's how I made it. I also like to show you one of the, the go to URL buttons that I've made. So last year I created this for Edu visors, the daily challenges, not the daily, the monthly challenges. Basically, by clicking different part of the map, it will show you different data analytics programs available in the United States. And here is the thing. When you click on different university, this website icon would show you the web link of that university. So let's do some of the California one. Southern California, Mount St. Mary University. When you click on it, this hover button, by clicking it, it will bring you to the enrollment page of that university. So that could be a use case as well. You can change the URL based on whatever setting you have on the chart. This is my let's see, let's reconnect. There's one weekend I was bored. I was in a hotel and then I had nothing better to do. So I downloaded the data set about Star Trek. And then I created a visualization based on the Star Trek's spaceship UI. And then here, these four are actually parameter action buttons These are not A/B switches. They're more like A switch or B switch or C switch and D switch. By clicking them, it will bring you to the next page, the previous page, the very last page, or the very first page of the chart. So this is also a way for you, if you were to do a sequential storytelling, this could be one of the ways to leverage a parameter action as well. I also create an A/B toggle switch for this chart showing like all the participants of Back to this Basic, the community challenge. Each of the triangle represent a person that has participated in the challenge. And by clicking the toggle switch on top right, you may toggle between bubble chart or triangles. The bubble representing how many submissions one has for the challenge up to a certain date. So, someone must be, borderline on the spectrums to calculate how many circles it takes to form this together. Last but not least, this is a little bit too advanced, even to myself. It's combining A/B switches with the dynamic zone visibilities. This is a chart showing 24 ways to represent distributions of a data set. And by clicking the expand icon, it would show more information of that specific chart type. When I created this, I believe I broke Tableau because there's just so many dynamic zone visibility icons on one page. So when I click on it, it would enlarge the chart and show me how to read it, my own preference, and then the strength and weaknesses of these different chart types. So this is also a A/B switch setting. So these are just some of the examples that I come up with. Clearly, I believe they're not the end. Oh, one sec. Where are my slides? Give me one sec here. Cool. So I promised earlier, I'm going to share more learning resources to all of you. So here you go. If you have a phone, you may scan this QR code. If not, feel free to go to my website, kevinwee.com, and then find this specific blog post. Originally, this content was meant for Tableau conference, but I understand a lot of people didn't go to the conference. That's why we have this presentation today. So if you go to my blog, you will see the slide deck for the presentation, the link to the demo workbook that you should download and play with, the free icon libraries that you can download without paying for anything, and with the installation instructions for you to put it in Tableau, and a YouTube recording that I had on the stage this year at San Diego explaining this. But today, frankly, I gave way more bonus content than a couple of months ago, I believe. So with that, I'd like to say thank you. Before that, just a couple of takeaways. First of all, free icon libraries, they should be simple, should be easily recognizable, and with consistent design. These are what make a good dashboard buttons. And a good dashboard buttons with good UIs, they should have clear tooltip messages telling people what to expect when they click on it. The interaction area should be more than just the outline of the button. And you shouldn't have some ugly white or gray or black outline when you click or hover above the icon. Last but not least, custom shaped buttons, we can leverage them to reveal information about the dashboard, use it to control the encoding or the setting of charts and dashboards. So with that, I'd like to ask all of you to try all of these tricks that I have presented today and come back maybe next year telling us what more applications that you have found. Not me presenting, but some of you. Okay, I'd like to thank Elisa for inviting me to the presentations. And there are a lot of people, a lot of leaders have inspired today's content. I didn't come up with all of them, maybe some of them. With that, I'd like to say thank you and happy holiday to all of you. And I hope those are living close to the tsunami warnings are safe and, secure. So with that, any questions? If we're running out of time for questions, I will stay and then I'll answer questions at the chat as well. We are good. I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Yeah, that was amazing. And I have so many changes I need to make to my dashboards now. So if there are any questions, go ahead and throw them into the chat, or you can unmute right now and ask any questions.
I think everyone just seems super inspired.
Yeah, if I need some content, I need some inspiration for next year's Tableau conference talk. So any questions that I can spend 40 minutes on, let me know.
Let me ask a question. I love everything you mentioned, and I'm so curious about the custom shape icon button stat page. Did you design it in Figma first and then upload it onto Tableau and then attach everything after?
That's a great question. It's from Figma, but no, I did not create them. So on Figma, you can go to a plugin called Icon Libraries. I'm going to quickly find it. I'm sorry, not Icon Library, Iconify. Iconify. So I'm not sure. I'm not sharing my screen. Am I?
You
I'm
are.
not.
You are sharing.
Okay. Am I now?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So on Figma, you can go find this free plugin called Iconify. And when you open it on your Figma file, you can just right and click, go to the plugin, Iconify. Hey, where's the pop-up button? Okay, here. It's been forever since I've used it. You can find, first of all, it already group icons based on this different famous icon libraries. I found Google Material Icons the most expensive and close to our needs, less fancy. And then in here, you can just find whatever icon that you want. For example, info. You'll have the info buttons. But I'm not going to ask you to go through this again. I have already curated that 24 to 36 icons that I use commonly on dashboard designs. Those shall fit 99% of the use cases that we have had in dashboard developments. Yeah. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yes, thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Is there a recommendation on how to manage your icon libraries? Yeah, sure. I group all of my icon libraries into 4 categories here. Oh, I didn't show it here, but at my work laptop, all of these icons, I have the dark one, and then the dark solid, the dark outline, the light solid, and the light outline. Just so some of the sometimes I put the icons on the dark part of the dashboard. For example, the top banner. Sometimes the top banners are dark color, right? So for those, I need an icon that is the same icon, but in a light color, maybe in a white color. So I would have these 4 categories, like solid, dark, dark solid, dark outline, light solid, light outline. These 4 categories. That's how I manage these icons on my working laptop. Hope that answered your questions. Cool.
This was amazing, Kevin. Thank you so much. I feel like I saw this presentation at TC and I still am like, oh, I need to go redo some of my things, my info buttons in particular.
You're very welcome. I am glad to be helpful.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else that I see, everyone likes your fruit. All right, Sam, do you want me to share my screen or do you want to share yours?
I think Kim was going to share hers.
Oh, okay. Someone's going to share something. Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kevin. Up next, we have Amanda Admire from Chaffey College. And so, I'm sorry, Dr. Admire has over 10 years of higher education experience as a researcher, data analyst, and faculty member. In her current role as a research and data solutions analyst at Chaffey College, she leverages her expertise to advance student equity initiatives. Amanda began using Tableau in 2022 and continually learns new ways to improve her dashboards to support strategic planning. And so Amanda will be showing us how to reset all of your filters at once on a dashboard. And I'm very excited for this. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I feel a little bad going after Kevin because I'm somewhat of a Tableau newbie. But I'm excited to show you, what I found, and thank you all for having me. So I'm going to share screen really quickly, and I'm going to show you at first what is already currently available on our Chaffey College website. This is one of the dashboards that I built with 5 million filters, right? Because everybody wants everything all the time, which is how we got to this problem, which was that, if I'm clicking 100, oh, hello, thank you. If I'm clicking all of these things and then I realize like, oh, now I'm deep in the weeds and I didn't really want all of this stuff. And maybe I just need to go back to square one because I'm feeling overwhelmed and I just want, a clean slate or something. This is how it led me to figure out how to reset all of these filters. So at the bottom, of course, I clicked categories that don't all come up, but you can reset all the filters here just by clicking this button and everything goes back to sort of factory reset, if you will. So I'll show you exactly how I did that. And I also want to say that I cannot take credit for finding or for figuring this out on my own. I Googled a lot of stuff and I found a workbook that Sam has graciously agreed to share with everyone that gives you step-by-step how to create this reset filter. So props to whoever on the universe, like whoever in the universe created that workbook, because I live by it now. So hopefully what you're seeing now is just a very basic dashboard that I created for this demo. So we have success rates here by year. I didn't make it look pretty or anything, but I just added a few different filters so we can go over the steps to reset them all at the same time. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to go into your worksheet and you're going to create a calculated field. So you'll go up here, you'll create your calculated fields. Where did my thingy go? Oh, wrong screen. 3 screens. Sorry, friends, 3 screens. And you're just going to, reset, label, whatever you want to title it, reset filters, and that's that. Right? What am I doing? You have to make a new worksheet, friends. You have to make a new worksheet and do these things. Okay, so sorry. We're going to reset button with a new worksheet. I already created the calculated field, so good job for me. And then you're just going to drag it over here to your text. And then you can format it however you want. So you want it to be gigantic, you want it to be red, you want it to be whatever, you can make it however pretty you want. Once you've created that, you're going to go back to your dashboard. And all you're going to do there is just drag it on over and make it pretty, put it where you want it. I always remove the title so that all it says is just reset filters, right? But now if you click on it, nothing's going to happen. So what you have to do is you have to connect this to an action. And apologies if I'm just checking the chat. Apologies if there's questions. I wasn't paying attention to that. So you're going to go to your dashboard and you're going to go to actions. And I was learning so much about actions with Kevin's presentation. I didn't realize all of the things that you can do with that, which was amazing. So you're going to go to dashboard, you're going to create actions, and then you're just going to add an action, which is a new filter. And I'm just going to title it reset. And so this is the part that I always have to double check my notes because I end up clicking the wrong things. So this first sheet will be your dashboard sheet. And the only thing that you're going to click there is the reset button. And I'm now realizing that I had one that I was practicing on, so I have 2. So sorry about that. And you're going to select the run action on select. And then whatever are the things that you want to be reset for your target sheets, and you're going to show all the values. And then down here, you're just going to add in all of the fields that you have filters for, which I probably should have remembered. But I know one is age. I think I had CalWorks in there. This is the part where if you start to add more filters, remember to come back in and edit this, because if you don't, all the filters will not be reset. Once you add them all, and now I can't remember what they are, you'll just hit OK. And then when you start changing stuff and you hit reset, everything will go back to what you had originally. So not pretty, but effective, especially because people want everything all the time. And you can add as many as you want in there. Any questions in the chat? No, no, no. Yeah.
This was so simple, and
I know.
I've struggled.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't need all this time.
No, you're a pro. This was great. Yeah, are there any questions from anybody?
Yeah, that was surprisingly simple. I was expecting one action per filter,
Right.
but yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Do you guys have a process in terms of some sort of guardrails as far as how many filters get? Because we, and I suspect probably other colleges have similar requests where everybody and their brother is saying, well, we want 5 of these and 4 of these. And you just get to a point where you can hide them as best you can. But yeah, being all things to all people is the never ending challenge.
Right. We have sort of a script where it's like our dashboards are meant for very high level, broad discussions. And if you want very specific things about very specific populations, we can do an ad hoc request for that. But we recognize that this will not answer all of the questions. And there are some scenarios where we're not confident in the accuracy of the data, and so they don't make it onto the dashboard. And so people are like, well, what about this population and this population? And yeah, we have to have that conversation as well. Like we just can't.
Agreed. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
So office hours today is going to be devoted to how to add a toggle to your dashboard to include and exclude EW grades. So let's take a look at this in Tableau. As many of you probably know, EWs are excused withdrawals. They are non-evaluative grades for students. They are grades that don't go on their transcript. They don't go towards course retaking counts. They're kind of just like this vanishing act, right? They just go away for students. And our policy at MiraCosta was to exclude EWs from all of our Tableau dashboards. We only gave out about 100-ish or so, a small handful over the course of an academic year. It didn't really have much impact when we excluded them in terms of our outcomes. But then COVID hit. And we gave out a heck of a lot more than a handful of EW grades. You can see back in 18-19, there's 120 for the whole year. Then 19-20, when COVID starts to come around, we have about 2,800. And then 2021, when COVID's raging, we give out almost 8,500. That's a lot, right? To exclude 8,500 grades, you're absolutely going to see an impact on the data. And that's essentially exactly what you see, right? If I were to take these EW grades out, if I uncheck this box, you're going to see one of these years is not like the other, right? Our 2021 grades, our retention and success rates can become super inflated when we take the EWs out versus when they're included. So that had a really dramatic impact on how we were analyzing and looking at the data. And what we were grappling with was including the EWs by default wasn't really right? We have all these EW grades, these do-over grades for students in the data, but excluding them wasn't really 100% right either, because what we had was a situation where we couldn't parse out EWs from Ws during COVID, right? Basically, anytime a student dropped a class during COVID, they got an EW. Ws just didn't exist. So there wasn't really a way for us to say, yep, this is what it would have been had COVID not happened versus, what it really was. So our solution was to let the user decide. We started putting these little toggle buttons onto all of our dashboards that had outcomes like this in it. So that way the user could just click a button and see the data without EWs or with EWs. And depending on what their question was or how they wanted to look at the data, they could decide if they wanted to include or exclude. So that's what we're going to create today. We're going to create this toggle button, which is basically just a sheet that looks like a toggle, like you saw with Kevin's buttons. And we're going to wire that up to a parameter and a parameter action so the user can just click on it and include or exclude EWs. So let's go back to this one and let's get going. The first thing I want to show you is the retention calculation that I have built in here. I just want to draw attention to the fact that EW is already in this calculation. Essentially, EW is getting treated like a W. And you're going to see, when we take the EWs out, that's not really going to matter. But when we keep the EWs in, we're going to pretend like it's a W. So just wanted to draw attention to that. So let's start by creating a parameter. We're going to go up to this little caret and select create parameter. And then when we do that, we're going to create a parameter for including or excluding EWs. So I'm going to call this EW param. And the data type I'm going to change to a Boolean. We only need true, false here. Either true is going to be EWs are included, or false is going to be EWs are excluded, right? So we just need that Boolean value. So we'll click OK, and I'm going to show this parameter, and I'm just going to bring it over here to the left for ease. So we've created this parameter, but it's not doing anything, right? We have to tell Tableau what to do with this parameter. So we need to create a calculated field that's going to bring in some logic to include or exclude the EW, whether or not, depending on what the parameter says. So I'm going to use my favorite hotkey, which is Alt-A-C, that opens up the calculated field window. And I'm going to call this p.ew filter. This is my own little naming convention, but anytime I have a calculated field that works with a parameter, I put a little p dot in front of it. Just helps me keep track of which calculated fields work with parameters. So this is eventually going to be a nested if statement. So I'm going to write the nested part first and then show you what it does, because I think it helps wrap your brain around it a little bit better. So basically all we want to say is if a grade equals EW, then give it a value of exclude. Otherwise, right, for all other grades, then we're going to include it. We're going to give it a value of include. And I'm going to just click this little apply button here so that we can create this calculated field, but we still have this open. And I'm going to throw this onto the view. And you're going to see now we've got an exclude for EW and an include for everything else. But we haven't wired this up to the parameter yet, right? If I change the parameter, nothing happens to that EW value, right? That's where this nested logic comes in. I'm just going to indent this because that's the nested piece. We only want this logic to happen if the EW param equals false, right? If the EW param equals false, then EWs are excluded, right? So we want that exclude value with the EWs. Otherwise, right, else, basically when the parameter is true, everything is going to be included. And we can go ahead and end that. And so if I click apply now, you'll see that this is baked in. The parameter logic is baked in. And now when I change this to include, you can see that EW switches to include. When I switch it to exclude, it goes to exclude. So great. Now we can use that field as a filter on our success and retention data. So let's go ahead and just grab this p.ew filter and drag it to filters. We're going to select include and click OK. And now what you'll see if I show this parameter, when we include and exclude the EWs, the graph changes depending on if they're in or not. So I'm just going to apply this to the other sheets on that dashboard, which are retention and grades, and we'll click OK. Okay, so now let's go ahead and just put that parameter on here just to show you that it's working. I'm going to hold Shift and drag this over so I can float it and just make sure it's working with everything, and it is. Wonderful. So now what we need to do is we need to create that button, right? So just like you saw Kevin create, we're going to create a new sheet, and I'm going to call it toggle. And what we're going to do is actually create another calculated field. So essentially, this is going to be a field that when the user clicks on the button or the toggle, it's going to send true or it's going to send false, depending on what is selected to the parameter. So we need a calculated field to use for that. So I'll use that hotkey again, Alt-AC, to bring up that window. And in this case, I'm going to call this p.ew shape, because this is what's going to go onto our shape mark. And what I'm going to say is if the EW parameter equals false, then when the user clicks on it, send true to the parameter. Otherwise, send false, right? Otherwise, if the parameter equals true, and end it. And we'll click OK. So let's go ahead and change our mark type here to a shape, and we'll grab the p.ew shape and throw it on there. I'm just going to make my view a little bit bigger and bring the size up so you can all see. So now we need to use some toggle shapes. So I created these toggles in Illustrator. They're just, rounded rectangles with a circle on them as an in and out. So you can create them however you want, right? Before I knew how to use Illustrator, I used to use PowerPoint, which was great, right? It did the job. You can use PowerPoint, you can use Figma, you can use Illustrator, you can use any tool you want. You can also use those free icons that Kevin showed you. Even in PowerPoint, now they have icons that you can add in and they have toggle switches. So however you want to get these shapes is up to you. But you'll add these, you'll create them and you'll add them to your Tableau shape repository. So that way when you go into shapes, you will have them available to you. I'm going to go down here to this EW demo. So right now it's set to false, which means that this is backwards logic. It's set to false, which means our EWs are included because we wired it up to send the opposite value to the parameter when we click on it. So we're going to make this purple. And just to show you that that's actually what it's showing, it's saying EW included over here in this parameter. So we have the purple toggle to show that they're in. And if we change this to exclude, then we're going to go back to our shape and give it that gray out icon. Right, so now we have both. And I'm just going to turn the tooltips off here for now. And there we go. So let's go ahead and put that toggle onto our dashboard. I'm going to hold shift so I can float it, and it's going to come out here, and I'm just going to hide the title, and we'll bring this down a little bit and hide this shape. And now what you see is happening is I click it and nothing happens, right? That's because I have to wire it up to a parameter action. So let's go ahead up to dashboard and actions. And then from there, you're going to get this interface. You're going to want to add the change parameter action, which is going to allow you to change the parameter when you wire this up. So in this interface, first and foremost, always name your actions. Be kind to yourself. Otherwise, once you have like 10 actions in a dashboard, you're going to forget what they are. But the first thing you do with the parameter action is you specify the source sheet. This is the sheet that the user is going to interact with. It's what they're going to click on or hover over in order to change the parameter. So for us, that is the toggle sheet, right? It's that toggle button. We're going to leave the run action as select. This basically just means when the user clicks, right, on toggle, what do I want it to do? I kind of do this one backwards. I think my brain thinks about this backwards. When they click on toggle, I want to send the EW shape value to the EW parameter, right? So that's all this is saying. And when we click OK and OK, we can see now that when I click on the toggle, it is going to bring my EWs back in. Let's just click on this again and see what happens. Nothing happened. Let me click it again. Oh, now it worked. We don't want our user to have to click twice, right? That's not a UI interface that people are used to doing, right? You click a toggle button and it changes. And the reason that it's doing that is what Kevin talked about earlier, right? It's highlighting this, right? When you click any data point in Tableau, it's going to highlight it, right? And you get this kind of weird default highlight, right? You click it again to get rid of it. That's all that's happening here. We're getting that black outline because it's highlighted. So we have to override that. We have to trick Tableau. And so we're going to do that trick that Kevin showed you with the apples and oranges. I use dummy 0 and dummy 1 because I'm not as fun as Kevin. So I'm going to create a calculated field called dummy 0. And it's literally, there's literally just going to be a 0 in quotation marks. And then I'm going to do the same thing for dummy 1. We'll call this dummy 1, and I'll put a 1 in quotation marks. Then we're just going to grab both of these. I'm going to hit Control to grab them both and drag them onto detail. So now we'll go back to our dashboard and we'll go back up to actions. And this time when you add an action, we're not going to do a change parameter. We're going to do a filter action, right? Just like Kevin showed you. And once again, name it. I'm going to call it deselect the toggle. And same as before, the source sheet is just the toggle. And we have to change the run action here. I don't know why the filter and the parameter action default to different run actions, but they do. So we're going to change this to select, which again is just saying when the user clicks on the toggle, what do we want to happen? Well, we want to freak out Tableau, like Kevin put it. So we're going to change our target sheet to just be that toggle button, right? We don't want the whole dashboard. We just want the toggle. You're also going to want to click show all values here. If you don't click that when your user clicks on the toggle will disappear. So make sure that show all values is selected. And then we're going to filter dummy 0 by dummy 1, or in Kevin's situation, it was filter apples by oranges. Those two things are never going to equal each other, which means Tableau is not really going to do anything here. It's not actually filtering anything. But this little hat tricks Tableau. It tricks Tableau into not highlighting your button when you click on it. And so now we have this nice seamless interface with our toggle button. We can clean this up, right? I would take the background color off so that it matches our dashboard, and I'd put it wherever maybe up in this right-hand corner. I'd also probably add a text box that says this toggles for EW grades, right? If you remember on the final version that I showed you before, there's a little EW grade on top of the toggle. You can just put something like that to let the user know what they're toggling on and off in your dashboard. And there you have it. So hopefully one day when COVID years fall off of our dashboards, we won't need something like this anymore, and we can go back to the good old days when we just excluded EWs by default. But there have been other instances where I've used toggles like this, also for COVID things, right? We've had COVID emergency grants during the COVID years, which didn't apply to any other years. So they were messing up trend lines on other dashboards. So you can use this however you want to toggle things in and out, or turn things on and off like Kevin showed you how to do. Okay, so with that, we will close out the meeting. Let me grab our slides. And just let everybody know that our next meeting is going to be all about surveys, right? Survey says we love Tableau because it's during Valentine's week. And we are going to have a whole meeting devoted to survey data in Tableau, how to prep it, how to visualize it, best practices. Adam Lange from Alcove Insights, he was here during our CCC TUG birthday in August. He's coming back. He's going to come back and talk all about preparing survey data and how to best practices for visualizing it. And then Maria Listener from Miracosta College is going to showcase her sense of belonging survey that she created in Tableau. And we still have an open spot. We would love to have you. If you have anything related to survey data that you want to talk about, you want to showcase, we'd really love to have you. So please don't hesitate to get in contact with us. You can use this QR code to fill out a Google Doc that will come to us and say, I want to present. You can also just email us, right? Email us at our CCC TUG email or any one of our individual emails. Basically, there's plenty of ways to get in touch with us, and we hope you will, because we really want to see what you're doing at your college. And with that, we just want to say thank you. Thank you again for joining us for another CCC TUG meeting.